is a favorite city among expats. I mean, I'm an expat and I've been living here for almost 10 years. You're a German and you've been living here for almost 10 years. And this video is our top 10 things we love about Düsseldorf. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And my name is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from Simple Germany, where we help you settle into life in Germany more smoothly.
Additional to this YouTube channel, we also run our website simplegermany.com, where we have written in-depth guides on topics that we don't cover on YouTube. So if you have additional questions, check it out.
Number 1 on our list is the size of the city.
Exactly. Düsseldorf is the 7th largest city of Germany. So it's not one of the biggest, but it's also not very small. And that is actually, you can feel it when living here. So Düsseldorf actually currently has around 600,000 residents. And that is the perfect number for us because there's so much to offer, which we will go into more into detail later on. But yet you can cycle anywhere in like 20, 25 minutes. And that's just amazing.
That's amazing. Compared to, for example, Berlin, when if you want to meet with some friends, sometimes you need to estimate an hour and a half just to get there. I mean, I find that crazy. So that's what I love about Düsseldorf.
So, and also the name kind of implies it. Sometimes we do the joke. Düsseldorf. Dorf means village. So, it's a city, but it feels like a dorf.
Yes, that's true. Number 2 on our list, it's a bit cliche, but it's the fact that Düsseldorf has what is called the longest bar in the world. I mean, this was when I moved to Düsseldorf back like in 2012, but I kind of think it still maintains the title.
I was going to say it's still the marketing title, yeah.
Yes, so what do I mean by that?
So the Altstadt, the old town of Düsseldorf, is not just known for architecture of an old town, but mainly for its party scene, because it is actually the longest bar in the world because in the least amount of space in terms of square meters, there is the most amount of bars or clubs like anywhere else in the world.
Yes.
So it's very condensed and you literally like a pub crawl or bar hopping is the thing to do. You literally go from one door to the next, and some bars are just only like 2 meters wide. So it's really, the ambience is amazing. And the beautiful thing is because, like you said, it's cliche. Every street kind of has its own vibe. You have the super touristy street, which you will know when you get there. Then you have the in-between hip, kind of cool, where like tourists and locals meet street. And then you have the only local street because it's a little like on the outskirts of the Altstadt, and there you really have like only local breweries, like for the Altbier, some other Kneipen, and it's really just locals. And usually you also have like days in the week where people hang out, and then just the streets are covered, and you just hear this
like the bar sound,
exactly. But on the streets, it's super cool.
The cool thing though is that you can literally go from, let's say, a traditional Brauhaus where you have like your schnitzel and your Altbier to, let's say, like a rock bar where it's like really hardcore rock and even sometimes with live music, to an Irish pub, to like a Ballermann one, to maybe a cocktail bar. So it's really very vast. The variety is pretty vast. And the cool thing is that you really just need to walk maybe sometimes 100 meters and you're in a completely different world.
Yeah.
So that I find super cool. Number 3, it has to do with the Altstadt a little bit just because of the location of it, and it has to do with the Rhine culture. So,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Rhine is dominating the city, just like also it is in Cologne and Bonn sometimes. But here in Düsseldorf, the Rhine really is very close because there is no like green grass in between the city center and the Rhine itself. And you have a lot of action around it. You have a bit further south from the Altstadt, you have like green areas where people really hang out. We also hang out. We have barbecues.
In summer, because you can't do that in winter, obviously.
You go there for a drink. Then you have the Kasematten, which are actually bars and restaurants right on the promenade. So you're literally sitting on the water pretty much.
Sometimes.
Very good for people watching also.
Yeah.
And then you have the steps. Exactly.
Yes.
There you go. The steps, the famous steps, which kind of like connect the Rhine promenade to the Altstadt, where people just sit and hang out. You get a beer from the kiosk, and then you just chill like with 100 people on the steps, especially for sunset, and you see the sun setting over the Rhine.
Pretty.
It's really pretty.
Yes, and even not only a beer, you can get a mini pizza, which is also super popular here in Düsseldorf. I think maybe in all of Germany, but Düsseldorf for sure. In the Altstadt, you have tons of mini pizza selling points. You get a mini pizza with a beer, and you can just chill out at the steps, and that whole thing costs maybe €5.
Yeah, and sometimes you have like street musicians and like
that
artists
perform,
and stuff.
Yeah, so it's super cool. Yeah. Oh, I wish it's summer again to go to the steps. Number 4 on our list is, believe it or not, there's a thing called Paradise Beach in Düsseldorf that we absolutely love.
Exactly. We have a real beach, like with sand and everything, and that is by the Rhine. I mean, where else should that be, right? It's by the Rhine. It's a little bit south of the city, and it's only accessible really by foot or by bike. And it is just a beautiful place to hang out to. You can maybe dip your feet into the Rhine. I would strongly suggest not to swim.
Never.
Every year people die and drown because they underestimate the undercurrent of the Rhine, so don't do that.
Yes.
But go there to enjoy a sun, a barbecue, some nice music, like I said, a dip with your feet, and just a good time.
Yes, I would also add that sometimes you even hear the sound of the waves because there's a lot of cargo boats that go by and then you actually hear. So if you close your eyes, it actually feels like you are on a real ocean.
And the view is also nice. You have a nice view over the city.
The skyline and everything. Yeah, so it's highly recommended as well. Number 5 on our list is the Japanese influence in Düsseldorf. Actually, Düsseldorf has the biggest population of Japanese people in all of Germany.
Exactly.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And how do we see that?
Well, we see that strongly in the city's culture. There is an area like around the Hauptbahnhof, around the Immermannstraße, that is sometimes referred to as Little Tokyo. And there you really obviously see the Japanese people, but also lots of Japanese restaurants, like shops to buy Japanese food, Japanese arts, like stores in that sense. So it's really, really strong in that area, and this is the city to have the best sushi in Germany.
Yes, I totally agree. Additional to that, there's even one day that is totally dedicated to the Japanese culture, which is called the Japantag, the day of Japanese.
Okay, you just mixed German and English here. The Japantag, so the Japantag, or the Japan Day. Yeah? So let's continue.
This happens around May, and tons of people come to Düsseldorf just for that day. You might see Japanese drummers, Japanese food, and actually it's very known for like manga people that people dress up like in manga costumes, and you have tons, like sometimes I would say even millions of people that come just to that celebration here in Düsseldorf.
Yeah, and if you don't know about it, you'll be like, what is going on? Because literally you've never seen so much manga in your life if you have not been to Japan before.
Yes.
Or any convention, I would say.
Yes.
You know? But it's really, especially what we just described earlier, the Rhine area, that's where most of it takes place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Definitely a must see at least once if you're in the area.
And finished with amazing fireworks.
Ah, that's true. At the end of that night or that day, there are fireworks over the Rhine. That's very true. Yeah, it's a very nice day actually. If you're liking this video so far, please hit that like button. That is the best way you can support this channel. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please consider subscribing in the red button down below. And if you want to go the extra mile and support this channel even more, you can always buy us a coffee at simplegermany.com/coffee. This is a small contribution that you can give in the shape of a virtual coffee. Continuing with the program. Number 6 on our list is the geographical location of Düsseldorf.
So I think what you're referring to is we are super close to the Dutch border, to the Netherlands, super close to the Belgian border, relatively close to the Luxembourg border. So you can pretty much experience a lot of different European cultures within a 2-hour radius, I would say.
I agree.
Plus, also with the Netherlands, a beach is close by with like in a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
For example, from Düsseldorf to Amsterdam, you can book train tickets for as little as 25 euros. I mean, one way.
A little bit in advance.
Yeah, a little bit advance. But that's amazing. And you could like have a day trip to Amsterdam and come back, sleep on the train on the way back home. Definitely a must-see also if you live here.
Yeah.
I would also say from here to Paris is relatively easy and cheap to go to with the train, with the Thalys. And it's just amazing to be so close to so many borders, as you said. I really like that. Number 7 on our list, wait, if you're in Germany, number 7 is the culture offer that Düsseldorf has.
Yeah, the cultural offer is comparatively big, maybe it is just like it should be in a city, I don't know. But there is lots to do, lots to see, lots to participate in. During the year, there's several festivals. A lot of them actually take place on that Rhine promenade that we talked about. For example, like they have a French weekend that's super interesting, and it's just like it's a very nice flair to like have a little wine, have a little baguette with some cheese or whatever.
That's very nice.
Same thing happens for the Japan Day. Then there is several fixed installations like the Tonhalle. There is a theater, there is the opera, there is 2 actually big event arenas for also more modern like concerts and stuff. So it's a big offer. And in fall every year there is the so-called Düsseldorf Festival, which is nice. A 2-week, 3-week I think festival where they build up a big tent by the Rhine at the Burgplatz and have everyday, very indie, very unknown artists that are relatively cheap, I would say.
Yeah.
And creates a really cool ambience, and it's just very special.
That is totally true. Number 8 on our list is that the international airport, it is so close to the city. For example, from relatively anywhere that you live in Düsseldorf, you can reach the airport in, are you ready? Around 20 minutes.
That's pretty amazing. By car or by train.
Yeah.
And that is, I would say, for a big city, very unheard of. I would say in Berlin, in Munich, even in Hamburg, the airport is always further away. And it takes minimum like 30 to 45 minutes to get there. And it's quite pricey if you take the public transport. It's not the regular ticket. And here it's just the regular A zone, the first zone, that you can reach it. And it's just super, super convenient. And it has amazing connections because it's actually quite big.
Yes, so that is really cool. Number 9 on our list is, believe it or not, is that people are actually pretty nice here in Düsseldorf. And I've heard it has to do with the fact that we are part of the Rhinish area, or the Rhine area. So Rhineland, can you elaborate that a little bit?
Well, what does that mean? So if you go to breweries or to a beer garden or any like not so official setting in that sense, it's very, very common that you share a table with strangers. And it's even more common that you will start a conversation with these strangers. Yeah. And actually, if you like each other, end up spending the evening together, you know, like going from bar to bar or whatsoever, or stay in contact. You know, the strangest thing can happen, and it's just that the threshold of contact is very low, and it's very friendly and interested, and that's a lot of fun. So I would say within Germany, Düsseldorf is often a little bit like a frowned upon, or like, this is a very common gesture that you get, that Düsseldorf is very fine and picky and very like a bit snobby. And that is related to, because it's the fashion capital and has like this famous queue with all the fancy expensive shops. But I must say that if you go there on a Saturday, you feel that and you see what I'm talking about. However, other than that, anywhere else in the city, it's not the case. And it's a really cool, low-key, hip, artsy city.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Also, we must say that the same happens also in cities like Cologne and cities like Bonn, just because, again, it's kind of like this area. And also, I've heard it has to do with the fact that because Carnival is celebrated here so heavily, if you haven't seen that video yet, you should. It's because then people are just a lot nicer and friendlier.
Just looser, lockerer.
Yeah, locker. I would still say that there's still pretty much a coconut, if you haven't heard this comparison before. I believe that Germans are like coconuts, really hard from the outside, but once you crack that shell, you know, once you get in there, they're really sweet and friends for life. And in the Rhinish, it's just a coconut, but a bit softer, I would say. In the Rhinish, in the Rhineland. A pre-cracked coconut. Number 10 on our list is actually the Kirmes.
Exactly. The biggest Kirmes on the Rhine usually happens in July for like 3 weeks, I would say, or 2.5 weeks. Opposite on the other side of the city center, the Altstadt in Düsseldorf. And it is really big. It's just an amazing vibe. There's songs about it. Kirmes actually in English means fun fair. So there's tons of roller coasters. There's a lot of food stands. There's, of course, the breweries have their own tents with live music and performances. It's really cool ambience, and I would say if you live in Düsseldorf, it is a must that you go there at least once.
Yes, I totally agree. And unlike the fun fairs in other countries, or maybe from the US that we see in the movies, right? I would like to point out that the super cool thing is this brewery thing that you just said, right? Every brewery, like Alt Beer Brewery, it's not like just any brewery in Germany.
No, very local.
Very local Alt Beer Brewery. They all have their tent and they all have their program and musicians come and it's a very big deal. It's super fun. So obviously you go to the breweries and to this tent to have some fun. Then you go to the games and then it's just even more fun.
And the beauty is, again, you can walk there. You just need to cross either of the 2 bridges from the city center. There's even a ferry across the Rhine. It's super accessible. And on the last Friday of the Kirmes, there's also always a very great and big firework.
Yes, also true. So definitely a must-see.
Yeah. Oh man, I really love living here.
Yeah.
If there were mountains,
yes,
that's okay.
Our one negative point about Düsseldorf, I know 10 things we love about Düsseldorf, but the one thing that we always complain about is the mountains and the weather, but I think that's Germany-wide. Just the fact that we don't really have a lot of nature or like Alps or Voralpen, as the Germans call it here. But other than that, we absolutely love living in Düsseldorf. If you're considering visiting or moving to Düsseldorf, we hope this list has been helpful to you. And if you're wondering what other cities are great to live in Germany, make sure to check the next video, which is the best cities to live in Germany, which is coming up in the card that's showing up now. Until next time, cheers!